Born George Harvey Strait Sr. on May 18, 1952, in Poteet, Texas, George Strait was raised in the quiet farming community of Pearsall, where wide-open skies and dusty back roads shaped his earliest memories. Life there wasn't glamorous, but it was rich in values: hard work, humility, and respect for tradition. Those principles would later become the backbone of his music and his public persona. Growing up surrounded by ranches and farmland, Strait absorbed the rhythms of rural life, learning early that authenticity mattered more than flash. The simplicity of small-town Texas didn't limit him. It grounded him. Even after achieving global fame, he would return to those roots time and again, drawing strength from the land and the lifestyle that raised him. Texas wasn't just where he was born. It was who he was. Every note he sang and every stage he stepped onto carried a trace of that upbringing, making him not just a country star, but a true son of the Lone Star State. Influences that shaped a traditionalist. As a young man, Strait developed a deep admiration for country legends like Hank Williams, Merle Haggard, and George Jones. Their storytelling, emotional honesty, and unmistakable twang left a permanent imprint on him. While the country scene would later evolve toward pop influences and crossover sounds, Strait held tightly to the traditional style he loved. He wasn't interested in chasing trends. Instead, he committed himself to preserving the genre's roots while giving it just enough polish to feel fresh. The influence of those classic artists can be heard clearly in his phrasing, his song choices, and the steady sincerity in his voice. Strait's music never felt forced or manufactured. It felt lived in, like a well-worn pair of boots. That authenticity became his trademark. At a time when many artists were reinventing themselves to stay relevant, Strait quietly proved that staying true to tradition could be just as powerful and far more lasting. Service, discipline, and the road to music. After high school, Strait briefly attended college before enlisting in the United States Army. Stationed in Hawaii, he found more than military discipline. He found a stage. Performing with an Army-sponsored band called Rambling Country, he discovered a passion that would shape his future. The experience sharpened his stage presence and instilled in him the perseverance required to succeed in a competitive industry. Military life taught him commitment and responsibility, qualities that later defined his professional career. Unlike many overnight sensations, Strait's rise was steady and deliberate. When he returned to Texas, he resumed his education at Texas State University in San Marcos, earning a degree in agriculture. That choice reflected his enduring connection to the land and rural culture. Music wasn't a reckless gamble for him. It was a calling pursued with patience and purpose. His time in uniform and in college gave him perspective, something that would later help him navigate fame with uncommon steadiness. The breakthrough that changed country music. In 1981, Strait released his debut single, Unwound, followed by his first album, Straight Country. At a time when country music was leaning toward pop influences, his neo-traditional sound felt like a breath of fresh air. Audiences responded immediately. His music carried the unmistakable flavor of classic country, while sounding contemporary enough to resonate with a new generation. Over the years, he would release more than 30 studio albums, each one reinforcing his commitment to authenticity. Songs like Amarillo by Morning, The Chair, Oceanfront Property, Carrying Your Love With Me, and I Cross My Heart became enduring staples of American music. They weren't just chart toppers. They were stories people carried in their hearts. Strait's consistency was remarkable. Rather than reinventing himself with each album, he refined and strengthened his signature style. In doing so, he didn't just succeed, He helped anchor country music to its roots during a period of significant change. Enduring loss and quiet strength, in 1986, the Strait family experienced an unimaginable tragedy with the loss of their daughter Jennifer in a car accident. The grief was profound and deeply personal. Known for his reserved nature, Strait withdrew further from the spotlight during that painful time. Rather than speaking publicly, he channeled his sorrow into private reflection and purposeful action. The family established the Jennifer Lynn Strait Foundation, supporting children's charities in Texas. It was their way of transforming heartbreak into hope. Friends and fans respected his decision to grieve quietly, understanding that some wounds are too sacred for public display. That period revealed another layer of Strait's character: resilience rooted in faith and family. Though the loss never faded, he carried forward with dignity, honoring his daughter's memory through compassion and service. It was a reminder that even legends face life's deepest sorrows, and that strength often shows itself in silence. The King of Country's quiet influence. Nicknamed the King of Country, Strait influenced generations of artists, while rarely positioning himself as a spokesman for the industry. Performers like Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, Chris Stapleton, and Cody Johnson have acknowledged his impact. What made his influence so powerful was its quiet consistency. Strait never sought to dominate headlines. He simply delivered quality year after year. Younger artists saw that longevity didn't require reinvention. It required authenticity. By staying true to traditional country sounds, he created a blueprint for sustainable success. His humility also set a standard. In an era of social media and constant visibility, Strait's restraint feels almost radical. He proved that dignity, privacy, and professionalism could coexist with superstardom. That understated leadership has shaped the genre as surely as any hit song. Remembering Toby Keith. When Strait recently spoke about Toby Keith, fans took notice. Both men represented different shades of country music, yet shared deep Texas roots and a respect for storytelling. Keith, who rose to prominence in the 1990s, brought bold energy and unapologetic themes to the genre. Strait acknowledged their stylistic differences, but emphasized their shared commitment to authenticity. In reflecting on Keith's career, Strait highlighted the passion and conviction that defined him. Songs like Courtesy of the Red, White and Blue and American Soldier resonated strongly with audiences who connected to their patriotic spirit. Strait's tribute wasn't about comparison, it was about respect. He recognized Keith as an artist who carved his own path, bringing new listeners into country music while staying true to himself. Mutual respect across different styles. Strait noted that while he and Keith did not always travel in the same circles, there was always admiration between them. Keith's willingness to speak his mind and stand firm in his convictions required courage in a changing industry. Strait, known for measured words, appreciated that boldness. Their differences reflected country music's diversity. Room for cowboys, rebels, poets, and patriots alike. Strait's remarks carried warmth and sincerity, honoring not just Keith's music, but his character. He described him as generous backstage and devoted to fans. It was a reminder that beyond chart numbers and awards, relationships matter. In a business often defined by competition, mutual respect stands out. Strait's words underscored the idea that country music thrives when artists honor one another's contributions. A reflection on time and legacy. At 73, Strait speaks with the perspective of someone who has witnessed decades of change. His reflections on Keith carried a broader message about life's fragility and the importance of expressing gratitude. Looking back, he acknowledged the passage of time and the significance of shared history. Legends rarely pause publicly to honor peers. making his tribute especially meaningful. It wasn't dramatic, it was heartfelt. In honoring Keith, Strait also honored the era they both helped define. Country music's story is built on connections between artists, between songs, and between generations. Strait's words reminded fans that legacies are not only measured in awards, but in respect earned and memories shared. Two icons, one enduring spirit. In the end, George Strait's tribute to Toby Keith reflected unity rather than nostalgia. Two different voices, two distinct styles, yet one shared devotion to country music's core values. Strait's acknowledgement served as a gentle reminder that integrity and heart matter more than trends. Both artists, in their own ways, embodied the spirit of independence that defines country music. As Strait continues to perform select shows and remain active in charitable efforts, his voice carries the wisdom of experience. His words about Keith felt less like a headline and more like a conversation between old friends, steady, respectful, and sincere. In honoring a fellow Texan and musician, Strait once again demonstrated why he remains not just the king of country, but one of its most gracious ambassadors.